Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by the ARCA Menards Series PR Director, Charlie Krall. And today we're going to be talking about the 2022 ARCA Menards Series schedule. That came out last night. But before we get into that, Charlie, how are you?
I'm doing great, buddy. It's been a good couple of days. We've got a lot going on here, and we've got one more race to go out in Phoenix to settle that West Championship, but we're pretty much all pretty much focused heavily on 2022 from here going out.
Yep, and we'll talk about that West Championship next week on the ARCA preview show for Phoenix. But before we get to the schedule, let's talk about some news that was released today. Daniel Dye is going full-time at GMS Racing next year in the ARCA Menards Series. In the main ARCA Menards Series, of course, he was in the ARCA East Series and ran some ARCA races for GMS. Started off the year with Ben Kennedy Racing this year, the team he still drives super late models for. But overall, how exciting is it to have Daniel Dye in the series full-time?
Well, it's exciting anytime we get a commitment from a quality team and a great young driver. So, whether it's Daniel Dye or Nick Sanchez or Roger Carruth or any of the other, teams that may come and commit to running with us on a full-time basis, it's great. Daniel's a great young man. He's got a lot of backing behind him. He has got some really strong roots down there in and around the Daytona area. So I know there are going to be a lot of people who are keeping a very close eye on him, and we're excited to have him.
Yeah, of course. That Daytona race is going to be, of course, that's his home race. So it's going to be fun for sure. But let's talk about this. You guys released the 2022 ARCA Menards Series schedule last night on NASCAR Race Hub. It was a little earlier than you expected, as we talked about. It looks like a lot of things got done this early. So before we get into the schedule, let's talk about how this schedule gets put together. Because, usually when Cup, Xfinity trucks, they got to get their schedules out, and then you guys can start with that. So talk about how that process works.
Well, that's exactly what it is, Casey. So we wait for, the national tours to announce where they're going to be racing. And then we know which ones of those, we're likely to have conjunction races at, and we put those pieces into place. And then once those conjunction races are in place, then we start to figure out, well, what dates are open for us to go to our traditional short tracks, our traditional standalone races, whether it's, Toledo or Elko or Salem or, DuQuoin or Milwaukee. And we start putting those pieces into place. And thankfully, NASCAR has gotten a jump on those national tour schedules the last few years. And that has allowed us to, really start to put our pieces into place much, much earlier. I don't know that I'm going to ever tell anybody to get used to expecting our schedule out in the last week of October, but it's been nice to be able to get that done this year. And, big thanks to all of the tracks all across the country, whether it's in the main national ARCA tour or the East and West tours. That we've been working really hard, and we've made a lot of progress on all three of those schedules. So it's great. I think there's a lot of energy behind what we've got going on. I've been telling you that for a couple of years, Casey. I know that, sometimes it looks bleak when you go to DuQuoin and there's 14 cars, and, it's disheartening. But overall, there's a lot of energy in what we're trying to do here. There's, people want to come and find a place to race, and they want to race at places like Daytona and Talladega, and they don't want to do it, with a multiple $1 million budget, and they want to find a place for their kid to come out and get some experience before going on to Truck Series racing or Xfinity racing. This is the place to be. And, we've got a common platform that you can race 40 sometimes all across the country. And we've made some changes to get the older Cup equipment and the older Xfinity Series equipment to filter on down to us. And, that's just like it was back in the old days when we had 50, 60 car entry lists. So we're putting the pieces back into place. And I really like the direction that the series is headed in right now. And we've got 19 really great racetracks with, 20 events coming up next year. And There's going to be a couple of those stretches where I think people are going to be really excited about. A lot of short track racing coming up next year.
Absolutely. And let's go over that schedule right now. Daytona is going to start off the season February 19th. Phoenix, Friday, March 11th. Then you guys take about a month break and go to Talladega on April 23rd. Kansas, the first of 2 races at Kansas, will be on Saturday, May 14th. Charlotte, Saturday, May 28th. Those first 5 races of the season. The 6th race. Yeah, and then Iowa, June 11th. And I want to stop there. Talk about returning to Iowa Speedway. A lot of people were, I know that the Indy cars are also back at Iowa this year, but I know that schedules didn't work out with them because typically I know that ARCA has in the past has run with the Indy cars that weekend. So returning to Iowa, I know that you guys have always been going there, but what's it like to be back at Iowa next year?
Well, Iowa's been a very important market for us. It's right in the heart of Menards country, and it's a great racetrack. They had one race there last year. That was us, and they had, for a standalone ARCA crowd at a racetrack that didn't have any other events scheduled at it last year, we had a really good crowd. I think we would have liked to have had a little more, but it was 98 degrees at race time, and we did. It was a great crowd, and they were energetic, and they were happy that the racetrack was open. They came in and enjoyed themselves and had a great time. And it's always great to be back at Iowa Speedway. And, I think really importantly is it gave everybody, that needed boost of enthusiasm that, hey, this is still a pretty viable place. And IndyCar, saw what was going on there and jumped back on board. And, we were very happy to have that opportunity to kind of stretch our legs there and show what we can do. And yeah, we're definitely excited to be back next year.
And then the following week, you guys go on Saturday, June 18th you guys return to Berlin Raceway. I know that place has also been getting a boost in there since, of course, since Jeff Striegel took over as GM of the track. Of course, MRN's Jeff Striegel, that is the same person there. But how overall exciting, you got to like what Jeff and also Nick Rice have done with that place.
Yep, that's another one of those traditional venues. We have not raced there as many times as we have at some other racetracks, Casey, but we started racing there back in the 1950s. So it's been a very important part of our schedule over all these decades. And, we've had a pretty good run there. Hasn't been, every single year since 1986, but it's way more than it's not. And it's going to be great to be back. I like it because it's close. It's within a few hour drive, and and get there and back in a day, same day. But it's always a great race. They've got a lot of great fans there, and look at some of the other events. There at Elko, that's always a really fun trip. That they do a great job up there. Go road course racing at Mid Ohio.
Yep.
Was such a great event there this year, and that was the first time we'd been back there since 1965. And and they treated us like we've been there every year since 1965. Pocono, we haven't raced. The only track we've raced at more than Pocono is Salem. That's, people ask, why do you keep going back to Pocono? Well, that's why. They've been such a tremendous part of this series, and really helped keep the series afloat back in the early 1980s when we just needed races. And that's why we keep going there.
Yeah, for sure.
The return to Lucas Oil Raceway, same day doubleheader with the Camping World trucks, that's going to be phenomenal.
Yep, Friday, July 29th for that one.
Right, and you can get a ticket for $35. You're going to see 2 great races for $35. It doesn't get any better than that.
Yeah.
And then traditional races at places like Michigan and Springfield and DuQuoin and Salem and Toledo. Returning back to Watkins Glen is going to be really great. I really like, Casey, those last 3 races of the year: Bristol, Salem, and Toledo. 3 half-mile racetracks. That sprint to determine the champion is going to be pretty darn intense. Taking nothing away from Kansas Speedway. They have been a phenomenal partner and have absolutely treated our championship as if it was the Cup Series championship. They really have. They've thrown every resource at it, but they moved that race up into September this year, which means our season, we don't have enough weeks available to finish in September. So we were looking for a venue, and Toledo, it just makes the most sense to do it.
Yep.
And those 3 short track races, it's not going to come down to aerodynamics. It's not going to come down to, who's got the most horsepower. It's going to come down to who's able to drive their car around that half-mile racetrack the best. And that's what I'm really excited about.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, you got going into this season, you got, of course, just to remind when the dates are: Berlin, June 18th, Elko, June 25th, July 8th for Mid-Ohio, July 22nd for Pocono, Lucas Oil Raceway on July 29th, Michigan on August 6th, Saturday, August 6th, Friday, Watkins Glen, Sunday, Springfield. Of course, that coincides with the Illinois State Fair, if I'm not mistaken. That's similar to what you guys did with Michigan and Springfield this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
You guys
it's also be a bit of a challenge. I'm not going to be, no kidding. On that one.
Well, you did it last year.
Michigan to Springfield's long enough as it is, and Watkins Glen to Springfield's going to be even longer. So
something you also didn't mention is the return to the Milwaukee Mile. I know that was a big track for you guys to go back up there and kind of reinvigorate that track, because as we talked about last year at this time, I know that track has been through a lot of things over the last few years with, not very good track promoters and all that stuff, but, Track Enterprises, who promotes a lot of the tracks for you guys across ARCA as well as ARCA East, it took over that track. And overall, how excited are you guys going back to the Milwaukee Mile?
Yeah, we had a great event there last year. Mother Nature again kind of threw us a curveball there on race day, and really kind of hampered the walk-up crowd there. But everybody was really happy with how that event worked out. It was great to see race cars back on the mile. I've been a fan of the Milwaukee Mile since I was a kid. I remember watching IndyCar races there when I was like 10 years old. So great to be back there, and we've got some great partners that are on board for that, supporting that one. Local companies that are, really behind that event, Casey, and we're looking forward to it. We hope that event, continues on successfully for many years to come, and that, very first race back, since 2007 last year, really gave us a lot of confidence heading into this year.
Absolutely. And to finish off the year, DuQuoin on September 4th, Labor Day weekend, Kansas Saturday, September 10th, Bristol Thursday night on September 15th, the traditional Salem date that first week of October on October 1st, and then finishing off the championship, as I've said, for the 70 billionth time, will be at Toledo Speedway on Saturday, October 8th. Cannot wait for that one.
It'll be a good one.
Yeah, overall, I think that this is a pretty good schedule. The only track that did not return from this year is Winchester. What kind of went into that? Because it looks like Winchester was added to the schedule this year, and it was taken, and then it took Lucas Oil Raceway's place.
Yeah, that's a real good question, Casey. So Winchester has been a racetrack that has been, off and on our schedule since the 1980s. We'd have it for a year or two or three, and then it'd fall off for a year or two or three. And, really what we really would like to do there at Winchester is we want to race there, man. I mean, it's a great racetrack. It's a great facility. It's right here in the heart of Menards country. We're having a real hard time building some date equity there. That's really the biggest challenge is, we've never had a consistent date. So the fans don't have there's no real, hey, this is when ARCA races at Winchester. And I think that's been a real big challenge into getting people to come out, is that they're just not used to a specific date with that event. And I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to the next time we get to go back there. It's a great racetrack. It is the oldest continuously operating racetrack in this country. The banking is incredible. I truly do. I love every bit about that trip to Winchester Speedway. And I got to give a lot of credit to Charlie Shaw, the owner of the racetrack. He's brought some promoters in, Brady Bacon with the USAC Silver Crown race there this year, Bob Dillner with the Winchester 400. Bob also partnered up with Track Enterprises for the ARCA race. They're trying. It's a tough environment right now, but yeah, man, I'm looking forward to the day that we can get back up there and race there again.
Yeah, for sure. I know that I know you guys are also hard at work at trying to get the ARCA East and ARCA West schedules done. Of course, there's going to be, with all the combo races there. I know that the West, the West Series is going to be their championship race will be at Phoenix next year, and then also for the East Series, the traditional East race at Dover will be happening as well. Where are we at in terms of the East and West schedules? Okay. All right.
I can't tell you, Casey.
Yeah. Yeah, they should be on the.
I would expect that they would be out in the same type of time frame. We like I said, we've made some really good progress on them, but we're just not there just yet. But stay tuned. They'll be out sooner than later, and I think everybody's going to be pretty happy with what we're working on here. And obviously we know that the East Series needs some attention, and we're trying. We've got a lot of mojo going on out west right now, man. That series has come a long way in the last 12 months. Chris Wright and everybody there are doing just a phenomenal job getting cars to come out and getting racetracks interested. And there's a lot of positive energy going on out west right now. And we're going to try to do that same thing here with the East Series. It's a little bit different culture, and there's some very distinct differences between those two groups, but we're going to try to kind of recapture that magic and get that mojo going here in the East Series as well in the next 12 to 18 months.
I know there, and I also want to ask you this: when I look at the main ARCA schedule, a lot of the races are are combination races that are going to be raced on, if not or the same day as the NASCAR Xfinity Series or the NASCAR Camping World Truck Series. What led into that?
It's just how it's always been, Casey. When we go to Michigan, we race there on Cup weekend. When we go to Pocono, we race there in Cup weekend. When we go to Kansas, we race there in Cup weekend. NASCAR has done a really nice job of streamlining their weekend schedules. Taking 4-day weekends and making them 3-day weekends, taking 3-day weekends and making them 1-day weekends. They understand that fans, when they buy a ticket, they don't just want to see one 200-mile race. They want to see, a couple of races. It saves them an extra trip to the racetrack. So those are the decisions that go in. And, we don't necessarily make that decision, Casey. That's a racetrack decision. They're kind of the ones who pick the dates. And, obviously we would have to approve it and agree to it. But that's really what the racetracks decide to do to entice people to come out and buy a ticket.
Yeah, I think Daytona, Talladega, Kansas, Charlotte, Pocono, not Pocono, Michigan, and I think Mid-Ohio are, some of those races maybe on the same day. So you get 2 races in 2 days. I think Michigan's doing that this year with ARCA and Xfinity there in August. So some good,
great idea.
Yeah, some good stuff there. 2 races in 1 day. Why not? So
doesn't like that, right?
It's going to be exciting one. But that's going to do it for the schedule review show. Charlie, of course, thank you so much for coming on and talking about this pretty good 2022 schedule. Of course, the ARCA East and ARCA West schedule will be out. The start times for the races will be momentarily. They aren't even out for the top 3 series just yet. So that will come out in due time. And of course, the Sioux Chief Showdown races will also be announced, as well as the TV schedule. I think I got everything right.
I think you got it all.
All right. We'll see you next week to preview Phoenix, and maybe next week to recap the whole shebang of 2021 ARCA. All right. Good stuff there.